This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast, episode 269, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End from 2007. Now, this movie takes place a year later because they filmed back-to-back sequels on this one. So with that said, I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
All right, now, I already know, Nate, that you already went to see this in the theater. We both seen this in the theater.
Yes.
Okay. Were you kind of shocked that this movie came back-to-back? Like, that's the question I want to ask.
No, because I remember at this time, this was like kind of the normal. Remember the Lord of the Rings? They filmed them all back-to-back. And the Matrix, the 2 and 3, they filmed them back-to-back. So these getting filmed, I don't know why they don't do this anymore. Like, I'd be shocked if they did it now. Now they never do this. But in the, 2000s, this was like par for the course. Let's just make both movies now. I think Avengers did it. I think Avengers filmed back-to-back. But Endgame and Infinity War. But other than that, look at Avatar. They filmed pieces of all of them. So that one's kind of going back to that. But anyway, I used to love it because the movies came out close together. You know, now like this, you got to wait 4 years between movies when back then they were both done already. So one comes out in 06, one comes out in 07, and we're all happy.
Yeah, I mean, there was other properties too, right? Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, right?
Yep.
And then the new Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2. But
Both?
they're still filming too, though. I mean, and then the writer's strike and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know, but you're right. I like that format for certain franchises. I don't think and then Fast and the Furious got the 1 and 2 or 3, whatever they're doing.
X12.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, X13. But I do agree with you in that part that certain franchises could utilize that back to back just to keep the story flowing. If you're not going to change the next sequel and if it's going to continue, why not? I always thought James Bond should have been another one that went back to back with the Craigs. Could have worked very well with that. So anyway, with that said, let's check out what the audience and the critics have to say about Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Well, we are continuing our downward trajectory here. This one has a 44% critic score and a 72% audience score. So the audiences were still enjoying it for the most part. This is one of those franchises. We do these all the time where like as the critic scores go down, the audience scores like they go down but not as big, like a little bit. So audiences still were buying. They were buying what they were selling, but the critics said, nah, we don't like this.
That is bad, but you know what? It's not reflecting on the numbers, bro.
How much did it make?
Look at this. The budget went to 300, so it shot up from part 2. Okay,
gosh.
Yeah. Domestic 309 million, international 652 million.
Okay, so almost a
for a
billion.
worldwide total of $961 million.
So like this, 2 and 3 combined was like $2 billion made.
Pretty much. Yeah. With sales and, movies and all that. So you're really looking at it was successful.
It's a juggernaut.
I mean, regardless of what the critics says.
Yeah.
Huh?
It was a juggernaut. This thing
it's a juggernaut.
Big hit. Yeah.
And Johnny Depp was, super hot. I mean, I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about like he was super hot in terms of
hot.
He was super gorgeous.
Yeah.
No, he was super hot like commodity at that time. Like everyone wanted to work with him at that time. So I mean, look at these. It looks like the franchise is still like a joke. I can't wait to see the final 2. See what happens. Does it go below?
I know they don't make 900. I know that much. I didn't look. But I know we ain't hearing 900 million anymore.
Yeah, I can't wait. But anyway, let's get into it, all right? Lead character, Captain Jack Sparrow and the whole cast in that lead character.
700
take it away.
Characters in this movie. All right. Once again, similar, well, I would say even more than the last movie. Our man, Captain Jack Sparrow, takes a back seat at a lot of points. First of all, he's not in the movie until 35 minutes into the movie, okay? I timed it. I checked. I put the little clock up. I said, how much? Oh, where's Jack Sparrow? As soon as he saw him on the screen, I clicked the button and it said like 33 minutes or so. So he's not even in the first half an hour of the movie. For your lead character to not show up for that much of a movie is weird. I don't understand. I mean, I get why story-wise, but is a weird choice. especially because his opening scene could have been the opening scene of the movie. If you think about it, it could have been. The whole plot is them going to get him from Davy Jones' locker. They could have opened with showing what Davy Jones' locker looks like to him and then cut to the people going to get him, right? It would have worked, but no, they decided not to do that. And then once he does show up, I feel like he's still in line with what happened in 2. I still think Johnny Depp owns the role. He's fantastic in it. He did get a little bit of his humor back from the first movie more than the second movie. But again, they just do weird stuff with him. Like, and this will get more in storyline, but there's way too many like double cross. Like, you don't know who he's helping or not helping or aligned with or not aligned with. And then he has like little versions of himself that are talking to him on his shoulder. And I'm like, oh my God. And then this thing with the peanut, I'm like, enough with the peanut already. Like, I don't know. This is not his best version. He's still super great. Depp is still super great. But I don't love what they did with him in this movie. It's not gonna, to me, the first one apparently is the only one where he's gonna get a 5 because I gave him a 4 again here. And I almost gave him a 3, but I think by the end of it, I like how his story kind of concluded. So I go with the 4, a soft 4.
Yeah, I mean, I gave him a 4 also, to be honest with you. It's way too many. I mean, it was way too many lead characters. I mean, you got Captain Barbossa, you got Will Turner, you got Elizabeth Swann. Now you got Gibbs, right? His right-hand man on the boat, Gibbs. Yep. Then you got the 2 other pirates. I forgot their names.
You got Chow Yun Fat,
guy.
the Asian guy.
Chow Yun Fat is another lead character. Then you got Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones as his dad.
Calypso.
It is way... Oh, Calypso, which I think she was bad. She was more bad than
but
good.
I'm saying she had a big role. Like, she had way more
Yeah,
parts.
she had another big role. Yeah, so you're right. Johnny Depp's character took a little shine back. But when he was on screen, he was still funny, though. Like, I was laughing. I mean, there was a lot of sexual innuendo in this. I mean, a lot more. And I was really shocked on the amount of sexual innuendos were in this, especially between him and Captain Barbossa with the binoculars?
The telescope?
The telescopes. Yeah, you can see what they would show, like
periscopes.
Who had the bigger measuring stuff. So I thought that was like, all right, it was funny and stuff. But you're right. He was not as like part 2. I felt like he was more grounded as 1. Like, he was more serious in this one. He wasn't as goofball as he was in part 2 to me. So, I mean, I didn't see nothing wrong with it, but I think he needed way more screen time than what he got. But I thought him with the other characters, he has so, Johnny Depp, it's funny because we don't like talk about like the actor themselves, but Johnny Depp has great chemistry with almost everyone opposes him in the movie. Whether it's Davy Jones, they have great chemistry with each other. Whether it's the other Beckett dude, he had great chemistry with him. Him and Will Turner has great chemistry. Like, everyone that goes around Captain Jack, Johnny Depp has really, like, you feel these people, like, interact, and I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, I give it a 4. I don't think I agree with you when the one part is, I think part 1 is the best version of this character, but so far it's a 4 for me. I didn't see nothing wrong with him. I didn't see him diminish. I think he was still the same old Captain Wacky Jack Sparrow. So, all right, here we go. Main villain. Now you have Davy Jones, you have Beckett, you got Calypso, and then you have, that's it. Those are the 3.
Yeah. So Beckett is the main villain in this one, in my opinion, because he has the heart. At this point, they turned my boy, Davy Jones, who I gave a 5 in the last movie. They turned him into, he's freaking Jaws from James Bond. He's a henchman. He is a henchman until the very last scene, like, that he's in, pretty much. You know what I mean? Beckett has his heart, so he controls the Flying Dutchman. Davy Jones only does what he wants him to do. He doesn't really listen because he doesn't, like, he's like, hey man, we need to interrogate some of these people. You keep blowing them up. Davy Jones like, whatever, I just blow them up. So, there's that part of it where he goes a little bit rogue. So to me, Beckett is the main villain. And I mean, I don't really like him still. I like him better in this one than in the last movie. Because at least this time he's like out in the ship. He's out in the sea. He's not just in an office the whole movie. But overall, I gave the villain factor a 3. I think there's too many. I think if they just kept Davy Jones as the main villain, it would have been great again, because at the end of the day, his whole storyline with Calypso was interesting, but it only gets a little bit, of play. And he's the one when they're having the last battle, it's his ship and the Pearl that are going around in the swirling water but this movie's long as crap. For the 2 hours and 15 minutes before that, he was just a do boy. Do what I tell you. Do what I want you to. They go on the beach. He has to stand in a bucket. That was embarrassing. He just got to stand in the bucket of water because he can't walk on land. How did they get him in there? Did they pick him up? It looks heavy. How the heck did they
picked his ass up? They had to pick him up.
Carried him into the bucket?
Yeah.
They're the only three on the beach. Well, anyway.
They must have slid his ass onto the bucket. They slid him.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I thought about it when I was like, how the heck did they get him in that bucket, bro? And how did they get him out of the bucket? They had to carry him back, put him on the boat like a little baby. Anyway, so Beckett, I gave it a 3. It's weaker than both of the last two movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Beckett he was more formidable in this one, I guess menacing, but not as much because everybody had the same damn plot line. Everyone was going up against each other, so it wasn't like, ooh, this guy turned on this guy. I mean, everyone in this damn movie turned on each other once or twice. So it was too many rogue agents. But you're right. Davy Jones is one of the best characters in this franchise, and he took a back turn, and man, it hurt the damn movie because honestly, at the last fight at the end, when he's sword fighting with Jack Sparrow on top and everything, it's one of the best moments in the movie, to be really honest with you. I mean, I know we're not talking storyline and action, but in terms of these characters, Davy Jones did way more than Calypso and Beckett on screen, and it's a shame because I thought with this movie, I would have had more Davy Jones wrecking havoc because of the heart is gone. And I would have been like, man, he should have been like tearing up the seas looking for his heart. But they didn't. They played this stupid henchman card, and I didn't like it much. And he didn't have much of a role. I mean, even when he talked, he was cool. I mean, I liked it when him and Calypso talked, the body of Calypso. I thought it was really cool, but other than that, there was nothing big. Oh, and when he got mad at Captain Jack, he goes, that does not count. Yeah. when he was like, oh, he goes, technically I paid my debt. And he goes, that doesn't count. And I thought that whole bickering stuff was cool. But anyway, I gave it a 3 also for the entire ensemble. And if you really think about it, Chow Yun-fat was evil too.
There's too many villains. There's like 11.
Yeah, it was way too much. And that was the Singapore. I think they brought in that type of pirate. Like this one had way many pirates in the damn movie. You got France, Italy,
Spanish,
Singapore, Spaniards or whatever.
Spaniards.
Way too many people. But anyway, that's a 3. All right, action scenes.
All right. So I thought we were back with this one. Okay. I love the opening action scene in this movie when they're in Asia and they're creeping around at night. Like that scene is great. The fireworks are going off. There's like sword fighting. There's shooting. There's explosion. I said, this is the pirates that I remember. It's back.
And the sword coming off the floor.
Yeah. And I'm like, they throw the swords up and they catch it. Yeah. I was like, sick. I love this. And then there's no action for like an hour and 45 minutes. Well, it's just talking and boats. That's all it is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened here? They dropped the ball. That open. See, here's the thing. Gore Verbinski, he directed all 3 of these first ones. He could direct the heck out of it. I don't have any problems with the direction because he can direct the heck out of an action scene. Even the finale. I think the finale in this is really good too, with the big storm and the swirling water. And I love that. And then when Will Turner takes over the Dutchman and they do the whole like side by side blow up the other ship.
That was hot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. The problem is I just had to wait 2 hours between like action scenes. You know what I mean? And it really hurt it for me. I gave it a 3 because the execution is there, but man, I can't sit here and be like, 5 because it has 2 great action scenes, but the movie's 3 hours long and they're really far apart. Like they're not even close together. So for me, regrettably, it's a 3, but I will say the action that this movie does have is really well done and I enjoyed it.
Well, you know, it's funny. That's what I'm giving the achievement award for. Okay. Like, I agree with 100% everything you said, because it's only the beginning and the end is where the action is. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So, like, for me, I was like, damn, how am I going to, because I was like, I agree, it was going with the 5. Yeah. The minute the beginning, and I mean, even the beginning, even like that whole, like you said, that whole fight with Singapore and all that. And my favorite scene of that whole thing is when the guy grabbed him because the tattoo was melting. Yeah. He was like, "This is your spy," and they were like, "Well, we don't even know who he is."
Yeah, he's like, "We're gonna kill him." Barbossa's like, "Go ahead, I don't know him."
Yeah, yeah, that was that funny. Yeah. That was like, I thought that was all funny, but I love the boat scene at the end.
Yeah, good.
That fight with the swirl with Calypso and everything, I absolutely loved it. Him and Johnny Depp with Davy Jones on top with the chest in one hand and he's sword fighting, and I'm like, he would have fell off, but it's okay. It's a damn movie. I thought that was all cool. I thought the shooting at each other. You're right. The last 30 minutes was all boat fights.
Yeah.
That's it. It was just straight up boat fighting to conclude the story. And I loved it. And it's a shame. But I gave it a 4.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Yeah. In terms of the action, like, you're right. He directed the shit out of this movie. Yeah. And that's what I'm giving it to. I'm giving him the props for a 4 because honestly, he sucked us back in towards the end. Because I was, oh man, you're right. This movie is kind of long. But towards the end, I mean, he sucked us back in. So I give it that point. Because it did bring me in, and I did started to get like really into the movie even more when everything started to pick up, and I thought it was cool. And Captain Barbosa was freaking crazy too during that scene.
Yeah, I think it's 5 level action as far as execution. It's just not enough.
It's not enough. Yeah,
but I agree with you 4. Yeah, I could see that. But I forgot to say the sword fight between Will Turner, Jack Sparrow, and Davy Jones is great. He dominates them. Yeah. He dominates them, and I love it. I love when a villain dominates, and these guys got to figure out a way. They got to figure out a way. He freaking kills Will Turner pretty much. I was like, this guy's not playing games.
And he saw his bluff. He was like, you ain't gonna do shit. And he stabbed Will Turner. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that was pretty cool. But anyway, I gave it a 4. You gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Storyline.
It's a 3. This movie, you said it's kind of long. It's way too long. It's way too long. There's way too much going on. I watched this movie. Now, when we review these movies, just so the listeners can know, 200 and whatever episodes in, by the way, 269 times I've sat down to watch movies for this podcast. And 269 times I watch these movies very intently. Like, I don't go on my phone. I write all my scores after. I just watch it because I gotta get these scores. And I'm like, man, I'm paying attention, and there's way too many double crosses. It comes to a point, it's like, I don't know who is working with who trusts who, and it's okay for spurts, like, let's say in the middle of the movie, there's like a double cross, right? But you kind of get the idea, like, oh, I think they did that, for X reason. But this movie has so many that you can't really, like, I couldn't really tell. I was like, I have no idea. Elizabeth Swann was annoying again. Like, she keeps, she's like, I'm going to go on the adventure. At the end of the last movie, after she screwed him over, she wants to go and save him. She's the first one. I will save him. And then she's the first one to freaking do it again. Like double cross him again. And then she becomes the pirate king. And I'm like, wait a second. Is Jack Sparrow the main character, or is Elizabeth Swann the main character? Like, she becomes the king of all pirates. Sure, it was because he did that so that, it wouldn't be a tie. I get it. But why didn't he pick, like, Barbosa? Why didn't he pick, like, what is Elizabeth Swann? I don't know, whatever. So it was way too much going on. Chow Yun-Fat's character, I loved him, and then he dies. Like, pretty early. I'm like, what? Why? And his whole crew still lives. So we get to hang out with all the other Asians, but not the coolest one. This is too much. I still give it a 3 because I think it's solid. It's just too long, and there's way too many plot threads going all over the place.
Yeah, I'm on the 3 too. I mean, we're so far on point with this here and there, but I give it a 3. This was way too long. I mean, way too long. I mean, I think I even texted you. I was like, this thing is long.
I texted you. It was sunny when I started it. It was nighttime when it was.
Yeah, this was long. And you know what's crazy? This movie, besides Desmond Chess, I saw this with Angelina's mom. We went together again when my mother-in-law's, and she loved this one. But she loved it because of the fight at the end. Like, she loved the battleship, but she loves the effects. I think that's what she went crazy for. But the storyline, I did not like Davy Jones' locker with Captain Jack. That shit was boring.
It was weird.
That was so so boring. We saw rocks turn into crabs leading the ship down. I did not like it. I'm going to be honest. Huh?
The peanut. Get the peanut.
I told you it was a peanut. Remember the last episode? There was a peanut. That's always I remember, his nasty ass nose.
His
sniffing.
half peanut. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never knew what was a significant of the peanut because even the monkey Jack got the peanut.
Yeah.
When Barbosa gave it to him, I was like, what was the significance of peanuts? I was just like, whatever. I didn't like that. I felt like you're right. Elizabeth Swann, it was weird. Why would they choose Elizabeth? But then again, if you look at her moral compass compared to Barbosa, I think Jack kind of figured was like Barbosa would just be like, we're out. Instead of Elizabeth were like, let's go to war. I think that's the only logical thing I'm thinking, because he knows what he is about and Elizabeth's traits. But I mean, I agree with you in terms of that. I mean, it should have went to Jack and he led the whole thing, but it would have been more funnier.
Yeah.
Though technically he did. It's just that he was more of, again, in the background in decision making. I don't know. I felt like Davy Jones should have had more screen time than what he got. But when he was on screen, I love when he terrorized the other guy. The evil dude from Beckett's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept telling him to do his job. And he was like, what did he tell him? He turned around and he said something, for now. And he just turned around and left. Yeah. Like, he goes, I own you.
Oh, because he's like, I'm in charge. Yeah, the old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm in charge of something. He was like, for now. And he just turned around and went, doom. And I was like, man, I hope he gets him. And he got him good. Oh, he did. Yeah, he got his little fuzz all up in his mouth.
That was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in a PG-13 movie. Honestly.
That was nasty.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was nasty. I mean, it was pretty cool.
Tentacles,
that's the only thing he got.
Mouth and his nose and his ear holes.
And it snapped his neck. He said, wow. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's my only gripe was the length of this movie. I think that was more of the gripe for me. Everything else was cool. Everything else cool. Going to the Davy Jones locker is one of the most creative things I ever seen. When the boat got a reverse, I like how they did that.
The water.
Yeah, I thought that was all pretty cool and everything. And when the Asian guy's foot was frozen, he broke his toe off.
That was funny.
But anyway, yeah, he went bloop. Anyway, I gave it a 3. I thought overall the story was solid, but I don't think it was as solid as I wanted it to be. But it was there. It was a sequel for a third movie. So I was like, it is what it is. All right, overall.
So overall, now this is the funny thing about this movie is you're right. I did see this at the theater, but guess what? I never watched it again. I have not seen this movie since 2007 because I remember walking out of the theater and being like, I didn't really like that. At the time, I was 20 when I saw this. I was like, I didn't like that. Wasn't into it. It was too long. Like it didn't work for me. So I always never wanted to revisit it. So I'm glad we did. I think, I agree with you in that I don't think it's a bad movie. The 44% is kind of, to me, I mean, that just means that a lot of people didn't like it. I guess I can see that, but I'm probably more in line. Like, I don't love this movie. I think it is a good movie. There's some good elements. I think visually it's beautiful. I think it looks great. You're right. I love the boat thing. I love that scene where the boat's like on the water and you can see the reflection of the sky in it, like in the stars. It almost looks like it's two skies and then the boat comes across. I think that's great. The whole thing with the green flash and all that kind of stuff that plays in, I thought that was cool. I do like elements of the story. I kind of like, even though it's kind of tragic, I like Will Turner becoming the captain of the Dutchman. To me, I think that was an interesting choice. He died, but if you stayed did you see the credit? Did you watch the end credit scenes for these movies?
No, I didn't know we needed to.
Well, all of them have end credit scenes. The end credit scene for the second one is the worst. It's the dog. He's the king of the Indian tribe or whatever. But this one is Elizabeth Swann, and she's coming to a mountain. It says 10 years later, and she has a little son. And then you see the green blip off in the distance, and then you see the Dutchman coming, and Will Turner coming to see her and his son, basically. So he had a kid with her. Yeah. So it's a nice little bow that they put on it. He could come back every 10 years and whatever, but it's too bloated. There's too many storylines. There's too many characters. Some things feel unresolved. To me, the Calypso thing goes nowhere, in my opinion. She turns mad big. She turns into a bunch of crabs. She makes a big toilet flush. And then that's it. That's Calypso. She's gone. She makes this whole big thing about killing Davy Jones, but she didn't do it. They did. They stabbed the heart with the knife, and then So, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of pointless, even though it led to that cool scene where she touches him and he turns into Victor from Underworld. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. So I gave it a 3. I think it's fine. I don't hate it as much as I remember. I think I liked it more on the rewatch. It's just, I can't see myself watching this that often because it's just too bloated.
I will say this. I agree with you. I gave it a 3 also. 1, she did kill Davy Jones because she helped the good guys.
I guess. In that regard,
them.
yes.
So
she
in that regard,
the
yes,
scenario
she gave the win. Yeah. But anyway, other than that, you're right. Calypso sucked in this movie. I thought she was going to be way bigger than what she is, but she was big. But in terms of the plot, she wasn't. She was mad big.
Yeah.
So I was like, it is what it is in terms of Calypso. My only regret with this movie, to be honest with you, they had to cut down some of these characters, man.
Yeah.
Like even like I don't mind if you're gonna have all these like what's his name, Chow Yun Fat, all these Keith Richards and all this. I don't mind it if they would have landed in the pirates whatever cave and they had to meet and everything and they all come out as cameos. I would have said, you know what, that is pretty cool. But when you introduce them into the story and now he's like trying to make out with Elizabeth Swann, thinking that she's Calypso and everything, and I'm like, brother, she is not Calypso. Like we already know who Calypso is.
Right.
But I just felt like I don't know. I felt like with this movie, to be honest with you, the last time I seen this was in the theater. No, Bologna Sandwich. I saw this on the Blu-ray when it first came out on Blu-ray, and I didn't like it either back then. Now I'm thinking it's a solid sequel. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna be watching this. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna be watching it again until there's a proper 4K for this movie. I will say, yeah, because this movie will look amazing in 4K, and I will rewind it to that battle scene at the end because that will sound amazing if you give me Atmos and it looks all crazy. But other than that, honestly, there's no need to return to see this. I can see 1 and 2 for a very long time, to be honest, because I like 2. I mean, for all the flaws that it has, I enjoy Davy Jones though. He was diabolical. Yeah. Anyway, 3 across the board, total points.
16 for me. 16. So this is the lowest score, but it's not a horrible score. Like it's a fine movie. I didn't go under 3 on any category. I think it's a kind of a middle. It's a part 3, if that makes sense. You know, these movies that are trilogies, and it's rare that the third one, every once in a while, the third one is great, but it's not as common for the third one to be like the best one, and that's the case here.
I went 1 point above you. 17. I thought it was a solid sequel to this Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't think it's better than Dead Man's Chest.
No.
But let's see what happens with Stranger Tides and then, of course, Dead Men Tales No Tales. What was the last one?
Yeah, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Dead Men.
That is one of the tongue tie. Yeah, that one. Like a tongue tie.
That's a funny thing. Yeah. And so there's a cool part in this movie, by the way. I forgot to mention my fun fact. There's literally a part I think it's at the beginning, where there's like a voiceover, and it's literally the voice of the ride from Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride. You hear this guy saying, "Dead men tell no tales," like that. And that's straight off the ride. I've been on that ride a 1,000 times. So that kind of made me go, okay, I know what that, I kind of like that. And of course, the last movie is named after that line from the ride as well. So that was kind of a cute little nugget.
Oh, we forgot to talk about the weirdest thing ever.
What?
The beginning when they were hanging everybody. I mean, they hung little kids.
Yeah, you know,
that is one of the creepiest shit that I've seen in a movie so far for Disney. But I'll let you take it.
No. I'm glad you brought it up. You're right. I did forget. This has got to be the most R-rated PG-13 movie that I've ever seen. Like you got literally people hanging. They don't show their head, but they show all their feet falling. Yeah, they hang a little kid. Davy Jones freaking puts his tentacles in that guy's head. It looks like a horror movie. There's like people's toes getting popped off, and it is very dark for a PG-13 movie. Like they push this as far as they can go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that beginning, I was like, wow. And then I'm seeing people lined up, and I'm like, what is going on here? And all of a sudden, I see people hanging, and I was like, how dark is this movie? And then I saw the little kid singing, and I'm like, oh man, these dudes are starting to get all into it. I thought it was gonna be like chaos erupts. Hell no, they're all still gonna get hung. Yeah. That little kid hung. I was like, oh man, I felt so bad. But I do remember when this movie came out, it was a big thing. That kid getting hung. I remember it was on the news.
Probably parents were like, we can't take our kids to see this movie. They're killing little kids.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing like the news, like talking about the new Pirates of the Caribbean is very raunchy, like dark. But I mean, that was like, this shit is dark.
Yeah,
but
it's very
I mean, it was kind of dark though. If you really look at it, it was darker than Dead Man's Chest. Dead Man's Chest didn't feel like it.
All three of these are like pretty edgy for PG-13. But this one is the most.
The line.
Yeah.
I think it's pushing the line of between R-rated and PG and is sticking to that line a little bit.
They made just enough cuts for, they probably took it to the MPAA. They said R, and they said they snipped 1 second, and they said PG-13. They said, all right, we're good. Let's send it out.
This is
We can make our 900 million.
yeah. I mean, yeah. All right, here we go. 17-16.
Yeah.
What is coming up next?
All right.
Nate.
Here we go. We got a new month. You know what that means? New category. Last week I asked you what you thought it was. We talked about it. It's going to be comic book films that only had one movie. No sequels, no franchises, none of the ones we're doing have been I don't think they've been rebooted, nothing. There's just one of each and that's it. So we're kicking it off with a little action, a little early 2000s action. Your boy, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, a little movie called Daredevil, which has a reputation. So Alex and I are going to tell you if it's warranted or if it's not warranted. That's our next episode. And then, of course, next week we're going to Pirates 4 on Stranger Tides, another one that I've only seen once, never watched it again. I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't remember that one that much.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know how many times I've seen it. I know I've seen it once, but I know my son, my older son, Aiden, he likes watching the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, he always likes 5. I keep telling you, he always wants to watch part 5. I don't know why part 5, but I've seen that one a lot with him. This one I haven't seen in a long time.
I know there's mermaids, I think.
There's mermaids. There's Ian McShane as Blackbeard.
Yeah, Penelope Cruz. I remember who's in it, and I remember there's mermaids, and that's it.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, with that said, guys, want to follow us in our social media accounts, please follow Nate over on Instagram at Netflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friends called Netflix Movie Reviews. Anything Action Movie Guys, head over to Instagram at Action Movie Guys Podcast, or head over to our official website at www.geeksandflix.com for all things Geeks and Flicks and Action Movie Guys podcast. Other than that, I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
Be awesome to each other and geek out.